My name's Rob, and this is a place for you to share and gain insight on how to succeed and better serve more families in this rapidly changing marketplace. This is FDTV.
Hello, and welcome to FDTV. Today, we are going to continue with the second part of our segment with Chris and Pastor David McQueen. You might remember that David spoke before about making a distinction between the mission and the methodology. And in the second part of our discussion, David and Chris cover three important things to consider on your path to success.
I think funeral homes, again, like church, have probably been, very product driven. And somehow, because I understand a funeral home is still a business, and there's nothing wrong with being a business. And so you have to look, if I would assume if we don't sell as many caskets, how do we make money? That's a great question. So I would think one of the things funeral homes are going to have to look through is how can we give services that also provide income.
Right.
And so just even thinking through that there's a connecting fee, there's a service fee for, connecting with this band or something,
Sure.
or a referral fee or something. I mean, there needs to be a mechanism by which you've got overhead, you've got expenses, you've got a family you want to feed. I get all that. And so, but I do think if you don't start looking at ways to do that, you just say, well, we don't know how to make money in that, so we'll do what we did, then eventually you are dooming yourself to die.
Yeah, I think the key is, though, to an extent, we have been asking families to pay for things they don't want.
Right.
And
it's kind of like asking people to come to services at church they don't want to attend.
Exactly.
So,
and then give to those.
And
and
then give money. And give us money while you're here doing this thing you really don't want to do.
That's exactly right. So, I was thinking that to myself as we were talking about that, is that I think we have to take a look in life these days and what's going on in our current times and say people are still paying money for things that they want to do.
Yep.
I mean, if they want to go to a club or go to parties or go to or go even to a church that brings them what they need, they're more than willing to go to those, and they're more than willing to pay for those. But what I think we've been doing in our profession is we've stepped into this mode of giving people what they don't want, instead of offering them a lot of suggestions of things that they do want.
Right.
And I think that's where it comes into play. What our funeral people need to hear in this is what you've been doing is keeping your message the same as it has been forever. And people have been doing funerals, believe it or not, David, since the first person.
Oh, absolutely.
Since Adam.
You see Abraham buying a tomb for his wife.
Exactly.
I mean, so we're talking about 2,500 years before Christ, and we're seeing evidence of grieving processes.
Right.
Absolutely.
So and they grieved, and it talks about it in the Bible, and so that's the kind of thing that we're looking at that says, what do we need to do to adjust so that we can really help people and give them what they need? But so that's been a struggle for us, and we're trying. And I think it's a shift that had happened in the church because the church went through a struggle here in the last 30 years. I was part of that.
Yeah.
And I finally had to let it go, David. I mean, I just had to finally say, "You're right. This is right. This is not wrong." I mean, my beliefs before were so, etched into tradition. I couldn't get out of it.
Right.
And this mindset of it had to be done a certain way, and things had to be done a certain way. So I struggled with it. I had anxiety about it. But when I let that go and said, wait a minute, again, like you said, what's the goal?
Yeah.
Are we accomplishing that? And if we are, and appealing to more people and doing the things that's appropriate according to Scripture, then we win.
What we tend to do, and I would say this is probably, I would assume funeral homes would be in the same boat. When you have a valuable mission, an act of service, and you have this mission, and you do things to help accomplish that, we tend to interweave our methodology and our mission. And they get so interwoven, we don't know what's our mission, what's our methodology, and pulling those apart, and this is what churches had to do. We've had to pull those apart and say, what is the mission? What is the message that is unchanging? And then what is just method of accomplishing that? And what are the various different kinds of methodologies that we can have to accomplish that? So if the mission of a funeral home is to help people, serve people by helping them grieve at the loss of a loved one, now the array of possible methods to accomplish that are so large, it probably feels overwhelming.
Right.
And I would say, as a funeral home, you can't necessarily do all of it, but you can start doing some of it. That's what we did as a church. That's at first.
Yeah.
When we were a couple hundred people and we started changing, we didn't do nearly all the stuff we do now.
Right.
As we've grown and have more resources, but we did start making some changes, and we did what we could to be hospitable, to help people, to adjust and reach people, and then from there it grew and we were able to provide more and more and do different things.
You're creating value.
In that world, you're creating value. And we believe, and we have no problem with that, we believe we have the most valuable thing ever. We believe we hold the greatest gift that humanity's ever received. It's not our job to force that upon somebody, but it is our role, it is our call to help people see the possibility of that being of greatest value. That would, and I would say funeral homes hold something of immense value that I would hate to be lost in our culture. And I just think, I do think funeral directors are probably going to have to become more service oriented and looking at just getting to understand people a little bit better and helping them. It's easier for us as a church because the people who want to do funerals at our church usually are fairly narrow, in the sense of they're connected to our church, they're related to us, and then we can provide within that range the various kinds of services. But a funeral director is going to have people from a lot of segments of life.
Right.
If somebody's disconnected from church and not part of it, they're probably not going to come to us to have a service, but they are going to go to a funeral home, and they're going to want even a wider array of possibilities of what can be done. And I think the more a funeral director is able to do that, the more they're going to accomplish their message, which you are helping that family do what they need to do to be healthy. If you want that family to be healthy, then they need to grieve. They need to have steps to walk through this, and the more a funeral director can help do that, the more they're going to accomplish their mission.
True.
Your church is very different than any of the churches that I went to growing up.
Right.
I spent a lot of time in Catholic church and Episcopal church growing up. But it's so vastly different. There are things that you have done to create value that I think also families recognize. I mean, there's an awesome daycare center. There's a coffee shop here. That seems like something the funeral home could take a cue off of as well.
It's a connecting point. It's an opportunity to say what will create opportunities for us to share with people what we believe is the most valuable thing they can ever hear. Everything we do is about that. We want to do that in a loving, respectful, honorable way, but we are definitely trying to create opportunity. Our job is to create the opportunity. And so I would think that funeral homes could take on that same kind of service idea and say, what are the various ways that we can serve? And again, as we get more successful at it, you're going to be able to create more abilities to serve.
So to quickly recap, when you look at everything you can do these days to create value when serving families, the possibilities are endless. And no, you can't do all of it, but you can do some. And it's like Chris said, people are willing to pay for things that they want. But if you're only offering services that no one wants, then no one will be happy paying for them. Many funeral directors may have to consider also being even more service-oriented, because the more unique, hospitable, and thoughtful things that they're able to do to serve families, the more they will be able to continue accomplishing that mission, which is helping families. And finally, there is tremendous value in creating new connecting points for the funeral home, just as David did for his church, that will create opportunities to further your mission. And no, these connecting points aren't always money makers, but they will add value and they will help you to create more opportunities to love on and serve more families. Thanks for watching.